Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest Chapter 172 is out, and right away this chapter is already much better than the previous chapter that we had. If you know from my last review, I had problems with the last chapter. It made me very angry, but reeled me back towards the end to an extent, and this chapter just made me happy and very excited to see what happens next, with setup for not just this current instance of fights, but also some foreboding instances of what we could potentially see within the following chapters. So I'm very much excited for that. Now, depending on how the rest of this arc goes, I will let the Oracion thing slide. I will still not be happy about it, and that will definitely bring down my overall opinion of this arc, but if the rest of this arc is just really good and starts hitting for me as things go forward, then I will not let it bother me that much. I don't guarantee anything though. Before we jump into this chapter, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps me to enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to support the channel more directly, go and become a patron on my Patreon. For just $2 a month, you get access to my patron-only Discord server, early access to videos up to a week early that aren't chapter review videos, and other details where you can recommend me stuff to review, and I'm currently setting up stuff for potential live readings or watch parties on a bi-weekly basis once I get things figured out for that. You also get your name at the end of videos starting in September, and you can potentially get a shout out at the end of the video. I'm planning to make the Patreon and the Discord server as fun and as engaging as possible to make it worth your while. And also, if you want, go and use my referral link down below for Advanced GG and use my code GreekWeeb10 to get up to 15% off at checkout for some really nice supplements, shakers, and thermoses from Advanced GG. Really great flavors for focus, energy, and just straight up hydration. You will really enjoy it. Now with that out of the way, on with the video. Now then, let's get right into chapter 172 of 100 Years Quest, titled Sechs vs. Sechs Showdown. Cover image being Gray building a castle of cards. Now we start directly from last week, where the Oracion Seis appeared and are staring down the Oracion Sechs, with Erza just in complete shock to see all of them here. And I get this really cool page of all 6 of these members of each group staring each other down, with the obvious matchups that were being set up here. But Erza then asked the very important question of who the cloaked figure is. They laugh, taking off their cloak, and we get the reveal that it is actually former member of Crime Sorcier Meredy, shocking Erza. Now, first off, I like the reveal. I like how she just made it into a whole grand reveal. It fits Meredy's character so well to just make it a big thing. Also, I'm just glad that she's back in the story because she basically was gone for a good chunk of the story. From Tartarus onwards, it was only around for like one instance. I had mentioned this before, and has not appeared in 100 Years Quest whatsoever like the rest of the Seis, barring Sorano and Cobra. And I made a video a couple of days ago stating that she was probably the mysterious 6th member of the Oracion Seis, though we did get some guesses for Aragorn and Rusty Rose. I would have been really fine with Rusty Rose being the mysterious member, but Meredy being the 6th member makes sense. Connections to Grimoire Heart, connections to Jalal, who has connections to the Tower of Heaven and everyone in the Oracion Seis. Fits together pretty well. This also brings her back into the story in a pretty interesting way. I also really like her new design. Looks really nice, really cool. Now, here's my only gripe of the chapter, as Racer states that the reason they're here is that Meredy looked into some stuff, and now they're here. Now, Richard states that the demons were calling themselves the 6 demons, while Angel says it's creepy. But this, I am going to end up stating what I believe this means with these 2 panels and conversations right next to each other. Seemingly, after separating from Jalal, it's very likely that Meredy did her own investigation into the White Mage while Jalal was doing his. And during the investigating, she probably found out about these 6 demons. And perhaps after everything that went on, and perhaps after everything that happened with Sabretooth going to Hell Fairy Tale, they learned about these 6 demons, and they came to Geltina to find them and see what's going on. Most likely because they had a feeling that maybe Zero had something to do with it, because based off of Midnight's reaction to seeing Master Zero, He doesn't seem to be too surprised that he's alive, so that seems to be the case. Now, obviously, the events of 100 Years Quest take place a whole year after the final arc, after the Alvarez War, so obviously there would be time for things to be built up, and also for the Sechs to get stronger. There is a lot to go into, so perhaps the Sechs were relatively active, at least in secret, over that last year. There's enough clues from Meredy to pull things together with the information going on with what's going on with Fairy Tail right now, so maybe she just decided to reunite all the Oracion Seis members and head to this area instantly. I got no clue. That's my rationality of this. I need a better explanation, but for now, I'll take what I can get. But yeah, that's my only real criticism of the chapter. Now, Midnight goes on to talk to Zero, ask him how long are you going to be hung up on the number 6, which pisses Zero off. I feel like this is Mashima trying to call himself out to an extent on how often he uses the Oracion Seis in all of his series as a bit of meta commentary and just a meta joke on just how often he uses groups with the exact same numbers all the time, especially the Seis. I found that funny considering he uses the Seis in almost every work he does. Now, Blade states, oh, there's 6 of them as well. As Gate realizes, I see what's going on, realizing that this is in fact the previous team that Zero created. But Zero then creates a bunch of dark energy, getting ready to attack, stating that all the Seis are nothing and that he'll wipe them all out. And in that instant, Richard raises his fingers, activating his earth magic to completely alter the landscape around them, turning it into mud, as everybody begins to lose their footing. Now, Bird, obviously he can fly, so he tries to get away. But it's in that instance, Racer, stating too slow, knees him square in the face, knocking him back. And right as Blade is about to launch an attack, Cobra elbows him towards the side, saying that he can hear him. As we then get the rest of the matchups, with Angel taking on Demon, saying that she's hers, we got Meredy taking on against Gate and Richard against Gaia, with Midnight against Zero. Now, these are the matchups I think we all kind of expected to see, based off of who was there in this instance, and these are some pretty fun matchups, because now we'll actually get to see not only the Oracion Sex and all their abilities, but we'll also actively get to see how much stronger the Seis have gotten over this last year, especially to see how Meredy will end up fighting, because she hasn't been in a straight up fight, so I'm curious to see how she will handle Gate. Also, I just love the fact that Cobra and Racer just basically blindsided 2 of these demons, and it seems that they have no idea what their abilities are, so it's very easy for them to just now react in time for them, especially for Racer. He's pretty damn fast. And as Midnight is confronting Zero, he ends up telling his father, why don't you wake up already? Hitting him with a large magical attack, knocking Zero back. But he gets back up and starts to laugh. Erza is about to start talking to them, but Meredy and Cobra tell her that she has to leave. Midnight stating that Dramil is in trouble and she's the only one who can save the town. After hearing this, Erza suits back up and then runs towards the direction of the town, telling the Seis to be safe, as Sorno states, who do you think you're talking to? As she jumps into the air against Demon with a bunch of petals in the air, with what seems to be mouths coming from the sides of her feathers about to attack Demon, which this might be a brand new magical ability or an extension of maybe her angel magic from the Key to Starry Sky arc for all we know, or something completely new, as she tells Erza don't underestimate the Oracion Seis. As Demon says, oh, I bet you're worth melting, with Sorno stating that's cause I'm fired up for the first time in ages, so go ahead and try and melt me. As Erza's getting away, Bird tries to swoop in and take her down while her back is turned, but it's then that Racer then kicks Bird in an instant, knocking him back, and then punches him in the face before he could react, using his motor ability. With the last thing of this interaction before we cut away is Meredy stating, okay, let's get started. As we then shift focus back to the Fire God's castle. Really quick, I like how it showcases that thanks to the element of surprise, the Seis are seemingly having a good chance against the Sechs. I do believe that they will either lose or will end in a draw in an instance, based off of their abilities. I still go by how maybe their abilities are a good complement to the other demons to kind of stalemate them. I also really hope that the reason Odoron got taken out by these guys is due to technicalities, but based off how this chapter is going to end, things might not be as we see. But let's cut back to Fire God's Castle, as Misfortune is just angry with Natsu for literally drop kicking her in the last 2 chapters, as he's trying to apologize, with her just saying, you know what, fine, I suppose you got a point, we were enemies previously, and so it seems Misfortune is back on their side. And I like how Happy just calls her Fortune, not Misfortune, based on her name, as Natsu says, oh, that's a great name. And it sounds kind of yummy, as Happy's like, wait, don't tell me you want to eat her. Kind of a weird joke. It's fine, whatever. Natsu then asks her that he wants to stop Ignia, and for her to tell him where he is. She pauses, but then says he did say he was going to find some black wizard named Ferris. When Natsu asks where, Fortune says, well, I'm not sure. He found her through smell. As Natsu's like, oh man, that's such a good idea. The amount of times Natsu forgets about certain aspects of himself to help him find people, like his sense of smell, happens a bit too often, but then again, he is a pretty dense guy. He then catches Ignia's scent instantly, pointing to that direction. But Natsu is a bit confused because in that direction is where Dramil is, as the city is engulfed in black flames and smoke, as Erza's wondering what's going on, ending the chapter. So, while I was incredibly hyped for the Oracion Seis taking on the Oracion Sechs, I do have to say that the end of this chapter, based on the fact that this is where Dramil is, and it's not leveled to the ground from being crushed by Alderon, and with the 6 demons stating that they took him out, it's very possible that it was in the crosshairs of maybe Ferris and Ignia, since that is the direction of Ignia being. And if it was like with Ferris's intervention, and that was a contributing factor to Alderon getting taken out, I will accept that. I hate that it was off screen, but if someone stated to be on the level of seemingly Ignia and the other dragon gods was helped in the attack on Alderon and taking him down, I will not hold it in as big of a very bad writing decision in my opinion as I was previously. But based off of how this goes, Erza is here at Dramil in a chaotic state, and based on Natsu stating that Ignia's scent is in that direction where Dramil is, this might be the start, or at least the teasing of Ferris versus Ignia, and with the next chapter we might get to see it. Or we'll cut away to what's going on with Gray and Wendy to see what those two are up to, and then we'll cut back to the Seis and then go back with what's going on with Erza. I think we're going to cut back to what Erza is doing with Dramil, and then back to the Seis and settle this section, then see what's going on with the other 2 dragon gods with Gray and Wendy and their whole thing. Unless their whole thing is done off screen, which I wouldn't like. But if you're going to focus on Ignia and Ferris and the Seis, then it's a bit of a toss-up and a sacrifice, because I do think Ferris versus Ignia is going to be a very good fight and a very climactic fight to see how these two will end up engaging in an actual battle, and I cannot wait to see that. But yeah, that was the chapter. Overall, outside of the nitpick of, or at least the very vague way of how the Seis knew to come here at this exact moment to face off against Oracion Seis, this chapter was really good. Obviously, shaky reasoning aside, I'm happy that they're here. The matchups look very hype. I cannot wait to see all of these fights go on, and I would love to see Midnight actually take down his father, which is something that I believe he desperately needs to see, because it was Cobra that killed him last time, and Zero was never the best father. But what did you guys think of this chapter? Let me know in the comments section down below. And how do you feel things are going to happen going forward with this arc, the matchups, what's going on with Dramil, and how the Seis fight is going to play out? Let me know. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.